I'm talking about the Echoplex trolls over here, guys. They're ascended masters.
So please excuse my sarcastic tone. I'm a bit underwhelmed by the sample shown. Mr. Bistro fraternity guy, you got my ass full of bloodshot eyes. Get drunk and fight every night. Idolize Bradley, belittle women's rights. Homophobic, racist, and don't give a fucking hey. Do you think you can drive a bigger truck? So wear your baseball cap to the side to let everyone know that you're a nice guy. So cool, was so impressed. Lots of chicks and a barrel chest. Cause you're a real man. Punch for punch, gonna piss in your face while you're passed out drunk. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. She's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planets. Oh, I just can't understand it. Conquer divine by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, Sherlock! I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, Sherlock! Read into the lyrics, cause everybody gets their just desserts. As long as you remember that nice guys finish Mr. Whitebeard, you're next on the list. Such a nice guy who speaks through his fists. Prick with a penchant for messing with heads. A broken nose for dinner and breakfast in bed. Alcoholic, paranoid, and suicidal too. But you'll probably kill her before she gets away from you. Screws in a blue blood and cry. All your friends say that you're a nice guy. Have a drink, this one's on me. Look, you're doing fine, losing to your disease. Comatose, I'll pack your bags. Bury you like cats ready to gag. Oh, I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. We're all nice guys, but all of you are assholes. He's a nice guy, she's a nice guy. Hey, Tom Bone's a nice guy. All of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planet. The public demented. Conquer divine by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, Sherlock! I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, Sherlock! Read into the lyrics, so let the blood you spill quench your thirst. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Plex. We do the show live every Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. I don't know why I keep saying we, because it's always just me now. I fucking scared everybody off of the cyclonic panic attack of a news clips show, which is, I guess, good or bad. I don't know. My favorite co-host is no co-host, as I sometimes say. Anyway, real quick announcement. For the foreseeable future going forward, Monday and Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, the Media Wench will be discussing all things Shasta. And if she runs out of that, she'll be talking about some of the national news stuff that I don't always like talking about. Again, that'll be on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. We're trying to decide whether or not that is going to be a podcast feed. We'd like to see all of my normal regulars, if you're around, pop in and say hi and check it out. The Media Wench is Going to be doing some interesting things, and I believe she'll be taking phone calls. I made sure today that our phone system works, and it works. So that's amazing. It's the one thing around here that I haven't maintained, and it hasn't broken. Anyway, other stuff, you can support this project at echoplexmedia.com. Click that support tab. Best way is memberships through Fourth Wall. That's just eplex.store, and you can get Patreon-like memberships there, but they're better than Patreon because Fourth Wall is cooler than Patreon. Plus, you automatically get a discount on any merch you buy. You don't even have to put in a promo code. I'm Producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr and Threads, and this is what the people want.
I don't hate the cops. There's a person inside when the truncheon stops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Oh, when the raiders come, who will protect the shops? Don't hate the cops. They're a sensitive bunch if you don't stop throwing your rocks. Snap, crackle, pop is the sound of a taser. Your body drops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Like your local police, cause they don't do nothing wrong. Like your local police got rid of the corruption and the racism is gone. They've been keeping the peace, keeping homeless folks out of the parks and malls. Got a cure for your social disease. Follow the law, don't hate the cops. 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 Put your hands above your head and show you're not afraid. I'm the fearless judge that your skin color's gonna get. And if you die before the sun comes up, the paperwork will take forever. Well, it might have worked out a little bit better if you didn't hate the cops. Cause they don't do nothing wrong. Don't hate the cops. You can't blame them for just doing their job. Don't hate the cops. Well, you gotta wonder how much would it cost for you to be shot at and stabbed at by maniacs and drunks. Don't hate the cops. 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 Don't hate the cops.
Every year, Scientology runs an ad during the Super Bowl, and this is this year's ad.
Every day, millions of people ask, what is Scientology?
A space alien cult.
Here's an idea. What if you just take a look?
See for yourself.
What if you see for yourself
No one else can see.
who we are,
No one else.
what we believe,
See for yourself.
and what we stand for? Our doors are open
See for yourself.
to all people of all faiths in every corner of the world.
Just look inside. You will know it when you see with your own eyes.
So what is Scientology?
See for yourself.
Maybe it's time to look and decide for yourself.
As L. Ron Hubbard said,
Some people are more bottom than others.
for the people listening on the podcast, I have a whole soundboard. We don't really use it much during the podcast part of the show. You should check out the live show, twitch.tv / Echoplex Media. Anyway, I didn't know where to put this next one, so I put it first until I saw that Scientology ad. I don't know what the hell is going on here. I guess Larry David was on the Today Show, and I I guess he attacked Elmo? I don't know. People were mad about this. I think it probably doesn't matter, and I probably don't care, but people were talking about it.
Let's go over to Alfred, check the weather. And
Not yet.
Wait. Oh my gosh, you love Elmo, don't you? Elmo, are you okay?
Just a lie, Elmo liked you before.
Ask permission before you touch people, Larry.
Let's get back on the couch and let's talk about how you're feeling.
They would have canceled the show, Elmo, for the last season.
All right, Larry, you've gone too far this time.
Yes, Larry.
Somebody had to do it.
Is anybody really surprised?
He's gonna sue y'all for the teaser. I'm gonna sue him for something.
That's right, Louie.
Okay.
All right.
All right, let's show you what's happening weather-wise. Didn't see that coming.
I have no idea why anyone cared about that. People were tweeting about it for an entire fucking day, and I have no idea why anyone cared about that. But that one guy was right. He's like, you ask permission before you touch people, even if it's an Elmo. What would have been really funny is if Elmo would have whooped that ass. That would have been very funny if Elmo would have whooped that ass. All right, up next, we got... apparently, Silver Fox had Chris Christie on to talk about... Wait, what the hell? Oh no, where'd it go? It's the one. This is the show is done live. Anyway, Silver Fox Anderson Cooper had
returning to the D.C. Appeals Court ruling against
Chris Christie on to talk about Trump not being able to have immunity.
In addition to having served as U.S. Attorney for New Jersey and then governor, he's also a newly published author. His new book, out just today, is What Would Reagan Do? Life Lessons from the Last Great President. I spoke to him just before airtime. First of all, the reaction to the Federal Appeals Court decision.
Look, I think it's a very tight, concise decision. I don't think there's any grounds for appeal. I don't know why the Supreme Court would want to take it. And I think it's what's going to lead to is a trial later this spring in Washington.
You think the trial will actually take place before the election?
Oh, I absolutely do. Look, a couple of things.
Won't he try to delay? I mean, even if there's not grounds for an appeal, I mean,
he'll try. But if when I read the decision today, one of the things the circuit court did was say if he wanted to appeal to the Supreme Court, he had until Monday to do it. Usually it's 90 days. They gave him until Monday and said, if you don't, then we're just going to lift the stay. So I think, he's going to have some decisions to make regarding how he wants to proceed. I'm sure he's going to try to appeal to the Supreme Court.
You don't think they would take it up?
I don't. I think it's a very tight, narrow ruling. And I don't think that the Supreme Court would be looking to take it up on a 3-0 decision that, in fact, I think is the correct decision.
Do you have confidence that politics wouldn't influence some of the judges on the Supreme Court?
I do. And I think the other politics that people don't think about is the small p politics of this. They already have to be involved this coming week in hearing the ballot access argument. I don't think they want to take two election-related cases. And I think Chief Justice Roberts has been pretty clear about that over time in some of his public speeches, that in the aftermath of Bush v. Gore, he really was going to try to keep the court out of those type of disputes if he could.
Do you think any of the president's trials will actually be adjudicated before the Republican convention?
Yes. I think at least the January 6th trial will be, or could be, very well. I think it could probably start beginning in May. Basically what the trial judge has said is that she'll give them a day for every day that the case has been stayed to prep. If the Supreme Court makes this decision, let's say, whether to take the case or not, and assume they don't take it by the end of this month, which I think is likely, then that's 2 months. Add 2 months onto that March 4th date. May 4th, the trial is probably a 6 to 8 week trial. I think it'll be done, and my guess is that he'll be a convicted felon when he gets on the stage to accept the Republican nomination for president.
You put so much time and money into New Hampshire. Why did you drop out when you did?
Because I didn't see a path to beating Donald Trump. That was my goal all along. And by the time we got about 2 weeks out, we had been polling fairly regularly. And we just didn't see ourselves within striking distance of him. And because of that, I didn't want to continue on in what was going to be a really, really difficult challenge to defeat him. And so my view was it was the right time to do it because I'd always told my supporters that if I didn't see a path to winning, I wasn't going to go on some vanity exercise.
Was it also to help Nikki Haley or some alternative?
No, because I didn't think it would, and in fact it didn't.
Would it have helped if you had endorsed her?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much endorsements really matter, quite frankly. But that wasn't really the way I made that decision.
If you're still not willing to endorse her?
No.
Why?
Because she's not running against Donald Trump. And, you know, I think that the people who support me in this enterprise expect that if I'm going to support someone, they're going to be as aggressive and as honest and direct about Donald Trump being unfit for the presidency. During the time I was in the race in New Hampshire with Governor Haley, she wouldn't even say that she wouldn't accept the vice presidency from him. So that hardly seemed like someone that would be a natural fit for me.
What about the idea of a third-party run? I mean, the No Label talked about it.
I mean, look, I think
you haven't said no to something like that.
No, look, what I think is that if anybody is going to pursue that,
say no now.
I'm convinced that there was a path to 270 electoral votes. And so I just got out of this race about 3 weeks ago. So I haven't begun to think about anything else except take a vacation with my wife.
Where'd you go?
We went to the Keys.
Okay. So your new book, What Would Reagan Do? What would Reagan think of the Republican Party today?
He'd be appalled. He'd be appalled.
I don't think so.
Of people not standing up to something that's so obviously wrong.
Would Reagan even win a primary?
Oh, I don't think Ronald Reagan running as the Ronald Reagan that I knew and voted for in 1980 wouldn't recognize how to even run in a primary like the one we just had. I mean, I can't imagine that Ronald Reagan would have raised his hand at the first debate, as 6 of the 8 people did, and say, I would support Donald Trump even if he were a convicted felon. And I think Ronald Reagan, as we all saw, would have taken on Donald Trump directly.
In the book, you write, many Republicans have abandoned their common sense and discernment and jumped into a shabby cult, denying plain reality, ignoring proven facts, promoting ridiculous conspiracy theories, and pledging allegiance to a blustery loser who can't remotely be called a conservative and who cares solely about himself. It's about as far as you can get from Ronald Reagan.
No, I think that's pretty on brand with Ronald Reagan.
And yet, this is the party you want to head.
Well, look, I mean, what I want to do is change it. And, you know, listen, Anderson, if you took those words and you went to any number of leaders of our party privately and asked them if they agreed with it, they say they did. The problem is they don't want to do the hard work that's necessary to lead and change the party. It means that if you don't raise your hand at the debate in Milwaukee, you're going to get booed. You're going to be willing to do that.
When you look at the border battle that's happening now, dead on arrival, the Senate bill on the border, does that make sense to you?
It doesn't make sense to me. It certainly wouldn't make sense to Reagan. What Reagan would do is if there was parts of it he didn't like, he'd get in there and negotiate it and try to make it better. And then ultimately would agree on a compromise that if it didn't give him 100% of what he wanted, it would give him a lot of what he wanted, and he would move the ball down the field.
The former president, President Trump, has talked about this is not a perfect bill, only a perfect bill is acceptable. There's really no such thing as a perfect bill.
Not in my experience of being governor for 8 years in a state where I presided over divided government with a Democratic legislature, but we got a lot of really great things done during that period of time. Reagan working with Tip O'Neill saved Social Security. Reagan working with Tip O'Neill cut taxes. Reagan working with Tip O'Neill rebuilt the military. So those things can be done if you want to, but it's hard work, Anderson. And sometimes you're going to make people unhappy. And my view of our race and why this book is relevant even more now is that Ronald Reagan was a guy who lost at times standing on his principles. But he's willing to stand up against Gerald Ford when he thought Ford had moved too far to the left. He was willing to stand up against the Birch Society when he thought they were too far to the right. And what I tried to do in this race was to stand up for the truth. And that was not extraordinarily popular with some members of my party, but it doesn't mean you stop trying.
Do you have any doubt that President Trump is pulling the strings, members of the House, to reject the border bill?
None at all. He said it publicly. So I know I have no doubt about that at all. And let's add, he's doing it purely for political reasons because he'd rather to continue to have people pour across the border and endanger our country because he thinks it will help him politically against President Biden.
Governor Christie, thank you.
Thank you.
So that guy, he had no chance. He wasn't real. I mean, he was running against Trump, but that was like the thing is that that's all he was doing, right? He didn't really have a policy message of any sort of meaningful way. All he had was like that he wasn't Trump. And it's like, well, that's, I guess, good for you, but like, that's not really that interesting. And nobody fucking voted for him because nobody fucking voted for him. I mean, he's sort of right in that he did preside over a divided government where the New Jersey legislature was run by the Democratic Party. And they did get things done, but he also did some real shitty things. Like, remember that shit with the bridge? I don't remember the exact story. I remember something about the bridge. There was he did something with a bridge, and I forget exactly what it was. If somebody remembers that, but it was fucked up. And so this guy is not the greatest guy in the world. I'm sorry for not remembering the bridge incident. I'm like, he did a bad thing with a bridge. That's the kind of political commentary you come here for. Gay Dave knows he did something bad with a bridge. But I mean, literally all he was running on was not being Trump. He could have put forward a reason, like a moderate, like center right or even centrist set of policies and gone down like on policy and gone down fighting. But he just went with, he's like, I'm a blowhard and I don't like Trump. And it's like, well, Trump's a blowhard and he doesn't like you. So you kind of fucking like, that's not really anything. Here's Stephen Miller on the ruling that Trump does not get immunity, that the courts ruled that he is not immune from prosecution. Stephen Miller is a ghoul.
What if I find a judge and I find a prosecutor who says he opened the border to help him win re-election, to get more illegal aliens to vote, and he fought election integrity at DHS and DOJ as part of his conspiracy? So that's a RICO violation, it's a civil rights violation, and it's sedition. That's several hundred years in prison for those violations. And I have a judge and a prosecutor who also say you go to jail, Mayorkas goes to jail, everyone in your administration goes to jail, and your immunity is a worthless piece.
What the fuck? Well, whoever cut that, like, didn't cut it as well as they should have, I suppose. That's wild. Okay. I wish I would have had more of that, but like, whatever. Like, I'm not out there pulling the clips myself, right? God, could you imagine if I had to do that? If I had to, like, actually watch the news and pull all the clips of everything we watch myself. I have gone back sometimes, though, when we saw stuff. I was like, oh, I need more context on that. And I have gone and made the clips myself. But, I don't know. Anyway, this is, I think, the wildest thing that happened all week in the news. And honestly, calling something the wildest thing that happened all week during the news is, it's a pretty bold statement, and it happened on the Hannity show of all places. This is these supposedly guardian angels. They beat up a guy during a Sean Hannity interview, and they're like, we just ticked down a migrant guy. Fucking wild.
Joining us live, he's on the streets of New York City. Former mayoral candidate Curtis Sliwa is with us. He likes chocolate over vanilla. It sounded a little like Louis Farrakhan to me there. $53 million in debit cards for 500 people, on top of $180 million for more hotel rooms in New York, on top of the $1 billion that Biden has given people that enter our country illegally. And we saw what happened to the people on tape beating the hell out of 2 police officers. Curtis, things getting better in New York City?
Absolutely not. In fact, that's why I'm his #1 hater. Join the Curtis Sliwa Haters Club of Eric Adams, who is single-handedly destroying this city by giving illegal aliens everything. They arrive in our city, imagine. You check into your hotel, you get concierge service, and bam, you get a $1,000 debit card that you can use for the whole month. And you get more money than any veteran.
Does this guy think $1,000 is a lot of money in New York City?
Any homeless person, any emotionally disturbed person in New York City gets. That's an absolute outrage. And this mayor just doesn't seem to get it. He takes care of the illegal aliens and forsakes his own people, especially the African-American poor and impoverished who elected him mayor of the city of New York over me, Curtis Lewa.
Yeah. Well, by the way,
did this guy even finish second?
If you divide 53 million by 500, that's a $106,000 debit card. Not a bad deal. I don't think they're giving them to vets that are homeless in New York City. Not that I've heard, Curtis.
Well, in fact, our guys have just taken down one of the migrant guys right here on the corner, 42nd and 7th. While all this
can you pan the camera?
They've taken over. They've taken over.
What the fuck?
The camera over there, if at all possible.
Yep. You got your key open, guys.
What are they doing?
He is out of control. Out of control.
What are they doing? What the wait, what the fuck?
All right, now Eric Adams often complains he's getting no support.
Well, what the fuck?
From the federal government to help him with the surge of Joe Biden's unvetted illegals in New York. And that could be because of the so-called border czar is a little distracted right now. According to a report, Vice President Harris...
I mean, that's also kind of ballsy in New York doing that, because random passerbys might just be like, no.
...has now suddenly, quote, found her footing. And she's now apparently... All right, earlier in the show with our interview with Curtis Sliwa, members of the Guardian Angels apprehended a man right there in Times Square in New York City. Curtis, we couldn't...
I'm not sure the word apprehended is, I think assault would be the word. Assault and battery. Unlawful detention. Apprehend it. I'm not sure. Yeah, apprehend is not the right word here.
Exactly see what was going on. What was happening in front of you while you were on the air with us?
Well, he had been shoplifting first. The Guardian Angels spotted him, stopped him. He resisted. And let's just say we gave him a little pain compliance. His mother back in Venezuela felt the vibrations. He's sucking concrete. The cops scraped him off the asphalt. He's on his way to jail, but they'll cut him loose. We got to take 42nd Street back, Sean. These illegals.
Did the cops arrest this guy?
They think they rule the night. This is our country. If they can't abide by the rules, then we're going to kick them back from where they came.
In this case, the Bronx.
And it's amazing because I've been out with you on the streets of New York. I've been in Times Square with you. Police are very appreciative of the support you and the Guardian Angels offer them.
Yeah, Sean, but
also they were like standing there for I'm confused because they were like standing there for like a photo op or whatever. How do they know this person shoplifted something?
Hands off. Well, guess what? We don't keep our hands off. You shoplift, you commit crime, you assault people. You don't belong in our country.
Well, then you need to get the fuck out because we watched you commit the crime of assaulting someone in like an organized fashion on the Sean Hannity show.
And we're going to make sure you pay a price for that. We got to fight for what we know is right. And you saw a little bit of this. They got a little bit of taste of what the Guardian Angels are going to do to liberate Times Square from them.
All right, Curtis Sliwa, hang in there and be safe.
So if I'm not mistaken, this Guardian Angels organization started in California. And it was like they were just like walking the streets. And they were not intervening. They were not physically intervening. That was not their original mission. I believe it was a Los Angeles group of like basically mostly older black guys in what we would call bad neighborhoods, and they were just walking the streets, and they weren't doing none of this. I don't know what the fuck this is. So here's a bit of follow-up. Here's some follow-up from the Daily Beast. I don't know the nature of this video here. I just know that this is the headline here is twist in Fox News Guardian Angel. Migrant is not a migrant at all.
All right, earlier in the show with our interview with Curtis Sliwa, members of the Guardian Angels apprehended a man right there in Times Square in New York City. Curtis, we couldn't exactly see what was going on.
It's the same clip we just ran. Anyway, there's no evidence that this person shoplifted, and this is my understanding is this guy's just some dude from the Bronx. This is not to say that if you see somebody shoplifting, you should assault them. Obviously, that's not something that we should do. I think the people who did this should all get arrested. There's some pretty fucking powerful, some pretty strong gang laws in places like New York City. A little bit of leftover maybe from times past. Could be used against these people because that looked like gang activity to me. They're all dressed the same. And they saw somebody who was speaking Spanish and assaulted him, from what I could tell there. Well, not great. Hopefully this does not continue, or if it does, hopefully the regular people of New York figure out what's going on here, and then, well, you know. Up next, we've got a dispute in the House of Representatives over a border bill that I don't want to see pass because it gives the Republicans almost everything they want. The reason that it's not going to pass, which is crazy, is that one Mr. Donald J. Trump doesn't want it to pass because he thinks that it would hurt his talking points basically about the border, because now something's been done. So here's Nikki Haley talking about the border bill that's not passing.
The lineup of matches is such that it doesn't favor you, and it's looking like an impossible battle. And, you know, smarter, cooler heads maybe start saying, you know, Trump, you know, Haley, that makes sense. That's a winning ticket. What do you say?
This is what I'll tell you, Neil. I'll let you know. Maybe I'll give you a tip or a first heads up when I pick my vice president. Yeah. How about that?
I had a feeling you were going to answer that way. Well, I still have you, Ambassador. I do want to get your take on this border bill. You know, Donald Trump has famously said that Republicans who vote for it should be ashamed of themselves. We're going to have Senator Lankford with us shortly, who's amazed at the response it's getting and wondering if maybe that could be because Republicans might feel that they're in a better position not to have something like this, that it could help Joe Biden and it wouldn't help them. How are you on this?
There's two things going on here, and we have to speak hard truths. First of all, everybody's tired of a do-nothing Congress. I mean, can they do anything? Because we've seen nothing out of Republicans or Democrats. They have an inability to get anything done. The second thing is, you can't have Trump sitting there saying, don't do anything until the election. We have a completely open border. America's acting like it's September 10th, and we better remember what September 12th felt like, because it only takes one person to cross that border to create a 9/11 moment. We need this fixed now. We need congressional members to stay in D.C. and not leave until they figure this out.
Does that mean this measure? Does that mean this measure? Ambassador, I know you said it has warts and some issues like that, but if this is all it's going to be, with maybe slight variations, better this than nothing?
Well, I think, first of all, we do know what Congress does. When they pass something, then they wipe their hands and say, we already did that. If they're going to do this, they need to do it right. The one part I like about this bill is I like that it strengthens the asylum requirements. That's very important. We haven't had that, and we need that. The part that I don't like about the bill, it doesn't require remain in Mexico, which is very important at keeping them from coming on U.S. soil in the first place. And I don't like the 5,000 limit. We don't want anybody to come in. We can't say only when 5,000 people have crossed the border. They need to stay there. They need to figure this out. They need to adjust it, amend it in any way that they can. And they should not leave D.C. until they get us a border bill. And no, we are not waiting until the general election to do this. And it's irresponsible to say that Congress has to wait until a general election because Trump is worried that he's going to lose. There's a lot of reasons we got to worry Trump's going to lose, but you don't sacrifice national security to do it.
All right. We'll see what happens. Governor, Ambassador, always good seeing you.
So this dumb shit about 9/11, those people flew in. They overstayed their visas. They came in through airports, not across either border on foot or by a vehicle. I mean, I guess they crossed a border in a vehicle because a plane is technically a vehicle. But this isn't how anybody got in. They just keep doing this. It doesn't matter that it's not true. That's the thing. Like, we could point out that this isn't true until the fucking end of time, and it does not fucking matter. People saying things that aren't true doesn't matter. Hypocrisy doesn't matter. None of it matters. None of it matters. Yeah, and then like somebody in chat just said, also we invaded 2 countries that none of them came from afterward too. Fucking dumbass Americans. All right. Up next, we got a Morning Joe. Here's his reaction to the dispute over the border bill.
The House Republicans have no answer here. They have no alternative bipartisan product. What they seem to want is just chaos. They want to keep the border unsolved as a problem so that it benefits them in the upcoming election. That's really cynical, but it's also pretty transparent. And I don't know that they're smart enough to get away with it.
The lead Democratic negotiator in the bipartisan border deal calling out House Republicans who are refusing to take action on an issue they claim is a top priority.
And ask the question, Willie, whether they're really smart enough to get away with it, which I actually, started thinking over the past couple of days. You've got all of these Republicans who are following this guy from Louisiana who just sort of stumbled into the speakership and it doesn't seem to be that effective. This guy is now putting around the Republicans' political neck an open border for the next 8 months and all that brings. Mm-hmm. The collapse of Ukraine to former Soviet KGB agents' invasion and the refusal to fund Israel in its time of need. And so you have all of these Republicans in the House, a lot of them who want to do the right thing, but they're blindly following this young, inexperienced speaker who is blindly
Okay, the speaker is not young.
There you go.
A guy with 91 counts against him.
That's the important point right there, that yes, it's Speaker Johnson voicing this, but he is a vessel for what Donald Trump wants and just carrying out orders. And it was, even by today's political standards, guys, yesterday was kind of a stunning day where you had people who'd been on board, people who had worked on this legislation, this bipartisan legislation, talking about Senate Republicans here. Not crazy MAGA Trump senators. We're talking about mainline conservative, traditional Republicans who all of a sudden are against this bill. They're against the toughest immigration security bill that's come along in a generation by most Republican accounts, by independent surveys, by groups who look at this stuff. They're getting what they asked for, and now that it's on their desk, they're turning it away. It really is stunning.
Yeah. And they're doing it in an election year. There's a cost.
How are they're going to answer to that?
There will be a cost.
That'll be an interesting debate.
They will answer for this.
So
there's going to be no cost to this. This idea that like a lot of like kind of center left liberals, or I think Morning Joe would be more like moderate Republican. That people are going to be like, oh, they're being so unreasonable. Why are they being unreasonable? And then just go vote for the other fucking person because they think that the people on their side are being unreasonable. That's a fucking fairy tale. That's a fairy tale. The only way this goes is the other way. Is if this doesn't pass, then the former president, Mr. Trump, gets to use this to try to drive turnout. Now, this is a bad bill. I don't like the bill. People in chat were pretty clear. We don't like the bill. It's bad. Too much. It's just, there are a lot of inhumane shit in there. And being like, oh, we gave you what you want and you didn't want it. That's not like a political strategy. That's like being on the receiving end of that thing that the bully used to do where they'd punch you with your own fist, where they're like, why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Putting yourself on the other end of that makes you look weak and feckless. It does not make the other side look unreasonable. It just, well, I can't say that. It makes you look like a punk. Anyway, here's Gymnasium Jordan on his no vote on it.
solution is real simple. Joe Biden's not going to fix a problem that he purposely created. So the only answer is for the Congress, the that has control of the money, says, okay, no money, one sentence, no money can be used to process or release into the country any new migrants. So we simply say time out. We're no longer going to let people come into the country who are seeking asylum. You're not getting in. Just say 8.5 million, on pace to get to 12 million. That's probably enough for one administration. Let's say time out, and then let the American people decide how we want to deal with this in November when we have President Trump, who actually had control of our border, against President Biden. Let the country decide. What Congress should do is say, on the funding bill, no money can be used. Here's another one we should.
So we have like treaties with other nations and stuff, and like this is like a lot of long-standing stuff actually regarding asylum. There's like international law to think about here too. Is the asylum system broken? Probably. Is it broken in the way Jim Jordan thinks? Probably not. Could the United States renegotiate some of these international treaties? Sure. Is the United States going to? No. It's just this is all just too useful to the not even the broader GOP, but to Trump himself, because this whole thing, if you remember when he first started running, it was all about the wall. And so this only cuts one way. If they vote yes on it, it doesn't do anything to help the Democrats. It's like neutral almost, like nothing changes if they pass this. If they don't pass this, Donald Trump can probably just blame Joe Biden for it. This idea that we're not going to take one more fucking refugee is barbaric. Just, I don't care if it's 1 or 1 million. I don't care if you say 0 more, is fucking barbaric. This is a merit-based process, and the United States has historically been a nation that has taken refugees. Mind you, during World War II, we didn't take refugees and sent a lot of people back to their deaths. The United States has certainly not been perfect on this, but the United States has generally been known as that country that takes the refugees. We're going to have to fucking remove that plaque from the fucking Statue of Liberty at some point here, I think, because at some point that just becomes a lie. And I don't think we should make the Statue of Liberty lie. She didn't do nothing. She didn't decide to lie. It was a gift from the French. Here's Nikki Haley again talking about Trump's landslide victory in New Hampshire.
We had 14 candidates in the race. A dozen of the fellas are gone. I've just got one left. We ended up getting 43% of the vote in New Hampshire. Think about that. The Republican incumbent,
No, you didn't. 43% of people voted for someone other than Trump. You did not get 40. Who's we, Nikki? You are just lying.
Did not get 43% of the vote in New Hampshire. That's a problem. He's
57%. If somebody gets even just a 2-person race, 57% is a landslide. That's a 14-point difference. That's huge.
Not winning any additional people. He's not winning independents. He's not winning suburban women. He's not winning many of the Republicans. But on top of that, look at what he did. The day after he talked about revenge, the night of the New Hampshire election, what did he do? He said, anybody that supports me is no longer part of MAGA. If you are running for president, your job is to bring more people in. It's a story of addition, not to go and push people out of your club. That's not what a candidate for the president of the United States does. That's somebody
Except that's what he does. And Nikki Haley could have done this, but she needed to come out hot, swinging against Donald Trump. She could have been formidable, but she didn't do it. I don't like her. She scares me. She would probably be more effective than Donald Trump at getting a lot of the same sorts of policies passed. But had she come out from the jump being like, this guy is a joke. I worked in his administration and I can tell you that this guy's a joke. She could have done pretty well, but she wouldn't do that. And if she pivots to that now, I think it's too late.
Himself. This is not about himself. Whether it was the night of the New Hampshire elections, whether it was after his court case that he lost, The problem that I have, at no point did he talk about the American people, Neil. At no point did he talk about the debt that we're in. At no point did he talk about the fact that, you know, our kids need to go back to the basics in education. Only 31% are proficient in reading. At no point did he talk about this open border that's out of control. At no point did he talk about the wars that are happening around the world and the fact that we need to prevent war, not start war. He's not talking about anything but himself, and that's the problem. We can't go through 4 more years of chaos. It's just, we won't survive.
But I know what
you too little too late. And she's still always kind of hedging, right? When she does this, it's always with that. She's not saying, I don't want anything to do with this guy. This guy's a piece of shit. Like, I mean, maybe you don't use that language, but maybe you do. And like, I don't understand, like, she had to know that that was her lane, that was the only thing she was going to be able to do, because Chris Christie has tried so many times to get up from where he was as the governor of New Jersey, and he failed. So we knew Chris Christie was a non-starter. Vivek, they're not going to vote for anybody named Vivek just because his name is Vivek. They're racist, and he's going to be the recipient of that racism. And I don't even remember who the fuck else was running. So she was the one, and she could have done it. Or at least could have made a fucking showing of it, but she refused to come out fighting. And now she is where she's at. She's probably not going to break 10%. Even, maybe, we'll see how it goes with everybody dropping out, but I'd be surprised if she broke maybe 15%. Up next, we got Dan Crenshaw, who famously ran a Pizzagate Facebook group. Everybody seems to want to forget about that. He was the admin of a Pizzagate Facebook group. Don't worry about it. Everybody forgot. Here's him talking about the border bill negotiations.
The height of stupidity is having a strong opinion on something you know nothing about. I'm extremely disappointed in the very strange maneuvering by many on the right to torpedo a potential border reform bill. If we have a bill that, on net, significantly decreases illegal immigration, and we sabotage that, that is inconsistent with what we told our voters we would do. People will make up whatever reasons they want to. There's a number of them, I'm sure. But it would be a pretty unacceptable dereliction of your duty.
Now, here's what needs to happen. And it's not going to happen because the Democrats are fucking useless. The Democrats need to all vote no. They need to fucking torpedo this. They need to not fucking negotiate on this. Just be like, you know what? Nah. They can make it so this does not pass, because they're not going to get all the Republicans, and the House is fairly close. But they're not going to do it. They're going to fucking vote for it, and they're going to be like, look, we reached across the aisle to the other side. It's like, God, would you stop doing that? There's fucking sulfuric acid on the other side of the aisle. Stop putting your hand over there, you fucking idiots. Up next, the deuce is loose, talking about the border. Every once in a while, Steve Ducey wiles out a little bit. Let's see what he's doing here.
And I know a lot of Republicans are against it because Donald Trump is against it. But here's the problem for you guys. The Border Patrol Union came out, and the acting CBP chief both came out and said it's not perfect, but this is the best thing we've seen in decades. So are Republicans going to say that the Border Patrol Union and the acting CBP chief are wrong?
Well, look, they can have their perspective, Steve, and we've got a lot of respect.
It's their jobs,
Tom. And it's our job to actually make sure the laws will accomplish what we're seeking to do.
Yeah, fucking the fact that the Border Patrol and everybody's in favor of it should lead you and I to be like, oh, I don't know about this. But the Democrats are just going to fucking vote for it. They're just going to fucking vote for it. It's going to end up passing almost as it sits right now. And, well, that's the way it's going. My notes are wrong here. This isn't Fox News, actually. This is a live stream. It appears like some kind of right-wing live stream on Rumble, where apparently, like, people went on this remember the convoy that wasn't? We'll call it the convoy that wasn't. Went down to the border to try to, I don't remember what they were trying to do down there, but they like baptized people and shit. It was weird. It was like a cult. Well, some of those people started getting their cars towed over expired tags, and here's the Here's the response from some Rumble content creators, we'll call them.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I know you're hearing a lot of stuff in the background right now. That's because we've had some issues. Will, you got to stop talking. Will.
Wait, do you have a producer somewhere with a mixer?
Somebody mute his mic in Zoom, Jeremy. Mute his mic.
Wait, they're using Zoom as the back end for all of this? This is amazing.
Give me 1 second here. All right, there I go. I got him now. Sorry about that, guys. We've had some technical difficulties today. Thank you very much. We're going to bring in right now because there's stuff going down. There's been stuff going down. So we're going to bring in right now Ryan Matta. We're going to bring in Ryan Matta on the screen right now. Ryan, what is going on down there? Somebody's car's about to be impounded or something's happening. What's going on?
Yeah, down here with
fucking local pigs are like, all right, listen, these people are idiots. I bet we could go down there and get some stats for expired tags.
Truth, we're at this rally, completely peaceful event, and you can see there's what looks like cars, thousands of cars. Taylor been doing some phenomenal work exposing the NGOs, exposing the child trafficking. Seems like we got a line of cops that drove out of their way to come to this man's vehicle and target this man's. They're getting ready to impound Taylor's car. I mean,
they literally fucking like I don't know if this is the meter, the person that checks the parking meter is there going, oh, your car registration's bad. I guess I gotta call
Taylor,
this in.
You're on LFA TV. You're live right now. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
So I've been investigating things out here for a couple of days, and also
you should have investigated registering your vehicle.
I was parking lot while DPS did some activity. I happened to go to the set to see what they were doing. Waved at them and everything, trying to talk to them. They wouldn't do that. They come in and flipped around. We got over outside by the facility of Charlie. My DPS said that I was you're not speeding. So glad you're here, buddy, because this is pretty ridiculous.
So what are they doing? They're impounding your car?
They're impounding my car now. Yes, my license, my tags are very much expired. But here's the thing: I was on this exact road 3 days ago. They said, okay, well, you need to get your registration up to date. And I was telling them, hey, I got an old van, I got a busted windshield. I'm going to get that stuff all taken care of when I can afford to do so. But now 2 days later, I come back and the sergeant just goes, he sees me, goes, oh my God, your tags are still expired. That whole going down there, just gaslighting.
So where do they find you? Do they pull you out from?
No, I was just rolling down the road here. I should have just parked back there, but he saw
me. When they say you need to get your tags fixed and let you go, they don't mean continue to hang out in our great state of Texas. They mean go get your fucking tag. Like when you go to register your car, get a temporary registration. That's what they're telling you to do. They're like letting you go because it's not a big fucking deal. And it's not a big fucking deal. Like
he went, oh my God, he does the fake excitement thing, put the finger in my face. I have that on video. And they're like, you're going to need, and then there's that woman over here, that woman sheriff. Yep. She was trying to she was like, we're going to pull you out of the vehicle. We're going to do this, that, and the other. You don't have a license. I said, hey, I'm looking for my license here, but I'm having to hold the camera in one hand, try to look for my license.
No, you're not.
And then try to get them from trying to.
You don't have to hold the camera in one hand. They're dude, they're bothering you about your fucking registration.
Like the situation was exactly what they were doing. So I'm doing 20 things at once here. Sorry if I seem a little excited. Yes, they have a reasonable stop. They absolutely do. But to impound my vehicle, not even give me the ticket, but impound my vehicle, they don't have to do that.
This is one of those don't let me see you with your fucking expired tags again situations. A very Texas thing to say, right?
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. We got people breaking into our country illegally. I think your tax dollars could be much better spent than targeting a man over here at a peaceful rally that his plates are expired. Unbelievable. Now they're going to impound his car. See your tax dollars spent in America, folks, and it's just unacceptable, man. It's such a good event. There's so many great patriots around here, man.
So
what do you think about what's going on right here, man?
It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. He's been here the whole time.
Yeah, I've been here the whole time.
This is like one of the decent things fucking pigs do, where they pull you over. They're like, hey, do you know your tags are out? You're like, oh yeah, I just haven't had a chance. And they're like, well, I'm not gonna sweat you on it. Go get that taken care of. And then they fucking know that they stopped you before, and then they see you 3 or 4 days later just driving around or whatever without your tags. They're like, sorry, got to tow your car.
I know this guy personally. He's probably one of my best friends. Known him for a few years now, and he's being targeted for what he's doing for exposing the truth.
or there's human trafficking, child trafficking.
No. The cops are like, this is going to be an easy one.
Immigration camps. He's being targeted, and I bet you bottom dollar Maverick County is sold out by the cartel. They're being bought out. Should I say they're being bought out by the cartel? I bet you bottom dollar.
Oh, that's going to help. They're going to not tow his car now that you all are like, oh, you're all bought out by the cartel, and the sheriff's like, car's not registered. People are like, law and order, and don't register their car.
Texas Regional PARC is Texas Regional Council Association. Association Council. So that is basically a Soros and Gates backed, basically like a privatized FEMA, and they give a bunch of emergency equipment and funding to these counties. And so Sheriff Kinney County is not one of those. I think I know this.
God bless you guys. Jeremy, how's it going in there?
Yeah, but so somebody in chat mentioned that they might be able to crowdsource the fees, but if this person's from out of state, then they would have to go back to their state to register their car. And on the way back, they might get pulled over, but they'd be like, hey, I was out of state and I didn't know my car was out of registration. I spoke to this, officer, and I'm headed back home actually to register my car. Probably get away with it all the way fucking home. This is amazing. We're not going to watch the rest of this. This is a long video, but like, it's so crazy. So crazy. Love to see it. Love to see it. Love to see like obnoxious bureaucracy get in the way of whatever this convoy was supposed to be. Up next, we got Jesse Waters versus somebody named Spanky. Spanky actually did a pretty good job here from all indications. There's 3 videos in this segment. This is about migrant moped gangs. Everybody, it's a moped gang.
They're ghosts. They have no IDs. They're undeportable in sanctuary cities.
They were driving a moped. Nobody sees anybody on a moped.
In Chicago, the local Latin gangs are recruiting migrants the second they step off the bus. You want to make some dinero? Then they go through smash and grab training and are deployed into the burbs to knock off luxury stores and then escape back into the shadows of the sanctuary city in Chicago, leaving cops in the dark. A Miami man was lured to a hotel by 2 Venezuelan women, probably paroled by Biden. He was then
probably
murdered.
But you were just talking about Chicago, femme fatale and shit.
An gang called Tren de Aragua was behind it. They're one of the most vicious gangs in South America, and now they're here, establishing footholds in Miami.
Probably Chicago, started here.
New York. Gangs well-funded, heavily armed. The border bill codifies Biden's Venezuelan parole play, so the president of the United States will be funneling gang members from Venezuela to your neck of the woods, either wittingly or unwittingly. These Latin gangs are building an army inside the country. As we saw yesterday, brigades of Chinese migrants, communists, marching into our country, growing unchecked. Central and South American gangs are already here fighting each other and then fighting black street gangs over turf and drug distribution routes. Russian gangs, the mafia, already established players. What kind of relationship does the Biden administration have with the cartels?
None.
We don't know. But it's a mutually beneficial one. They win, we lose. Spanky Loco is a former gang member, and he joins us now. First of all, Spanky, how'd you get the name Spanky?
Hi, how you doing? Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on. I appreciate you.
He's just gonna ignore the fucking. So this actually ends up being pretty good. He did not expect Spanky to be to know what the fuck he's talking about. So this is pretty amazing here. Here's part 2. We have 3 parts of that, I do believe. Here's part 2.
Easy is it to operate as a street gang, as an undocumented guy in a sanctuary city? It must be heaven on earth.
I mean, I couldn't say my early recollections of dealing with the matter was like my own parents migrating from Mexico and coming to the West Coast, but I would like to say it wasn't a luxury to say we're gonna leave our family behind and leave everyone behind to go try and do something new. I would like to call these migrants more refugees. And at that time, I can only speak on my experience, which was, my family needing to be in a better environment, hardworking family, responsible family. My parents moved to the West LA, Venice Beach area, and crime was never part of our background. Now, systemically, because I had parents that didn't understand the language and didn't have a relationship with law enforcement and a relationship with, school administrators, of course, people like us, guys like us, first generation, fell through the cracks. That was a very common story.
So you're a dreamer, Spanky.
I'm actually a doer. I'm not a dreamer. Oh, fuck. Because of my shortcomings and because of the examples that my parents, put in front of me, I've been able to, start my own business, be proactive in my community, talk about my lived experience and kind of what I saw systemically and say, hey, there's options, there's choices here.
Sure, you turned it around, and now you're on Jesse Waters Primetime. You should be proud of yourself. So,
oh, he is. This continues. Spanky, I like Spanky. Spanky, pretty cool. He's like, well, wait a minute, hold on a second here, buddy. I think Jesse Waters just thought this guy was going to be dumb. I really think Jesse Waters thought this guy was going to be dumb. And as you can tell, dude is not dumb. So oopsie, Jesse, oopsie.
Well, a lot of these people aren't technically refugees, though, Spank. A lot of these people just want to leave their country.
On a first syllable basis, he's like, don't call me Spank.
America. And what better country to do that than America? They're claiming asylum, which is garbage. And they're working the system, and Biden's letting them get away with it. You know that. Everybody knows that.
I think it's a matter of circumstance, to generalize the population and say, oh, Mexicans are attributed to cartels. Mexicans are attributed to crime. I mean, we can also look at what the backbone of America might be, which is the hard work, the labor-intensive jobs, the jobs that don't want to be picked up by other civilians here in the area. But we have, again, you mentioned it earlier, you got cheap labor, right? When you're looking at paying somebody the minimum or less and still take out wages for housing and still take out wages for equipment and be predatory, of course, you're left with less options.
I hear you.
So
I mean, listen, we need immigration in this country. I get that. But we'd like to choose who we let in. We don't like it foisted upon us. Spanky, we could have this conversation all day long, and as much as I'd like to, we can't because we got to pay some bills, get to some other guests. But we appreciate you. We respect you.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you as well. Thank you for having me on the show. And of course, to understand is to show empathy. I know it's really hard these days and saying, hey, that guy right there and that guy right there is the cause of why we're falling apart. But having a little empathy and going into your community and saying, what are the needs? And being firsthand as opposed to being on the couch and giving your opinion and saying, this is what I think would make America better. Go out there.
All right.
Go out there and be grassroots and go out there and connect with your local leaders of your community and see what's needed. See what your immediate area needs.
Well,
I think that's the first step.
I ooze it because you always know if you don't ooze it, you lose it. Mr. Loco, thank you.
Got fucking bodied. That guy was so good. He's like, well, we're not quite done here yet. He's like, go out in your community. Jesse Waters doesn't go out in no community. Didn't go out. Get the fuck out of here. He probably lives in a gated community. Like, what the fuck? All right, here's the former president. Being interviewed by a known ghoul, Wayne Allen Root. They're going to be talking about immigration and deportation because, of course, they are. And this is on Real America's Voice. This is Bannon's Network.
Well, look, I have no doubt that once you get in, we secure the border, we finish the wall, we put back Title 42, they have to wait on the other side, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you're going to need to deport tens of millions, it seems like. Yep. I think 10 million have come in. Another 10 million may come in from now through the day you're sworn in on January 20th, 2025. Then there's the gotaways. You might have to deport 20 or 30 million. Can you do that?
We have to get them out. It's not sustainable.
Ooh, you try to deport 20 or 30 million people in this country. I wish you the best of luck. You will have a very tough time doing that. You want to see you want to see some protests or what people would call riots in the cities? You go through and you start knocking on doors and deporting people who are here without their papers. You will see an uprising in this country, in the cities, like you have never seen before. They're not going to do it. He's just talking about it. He ain't going to do it. Up next, we have a CNN panel talking about all the dumbass things Donald Trump has said. Probably some shit-lib shit, but like whatever.
What do you think, Jamal?
So I talked to the White House tonight. They're feeling like this was the right call. They feel like...
But who made it?
They feel like they're angry. Nobody said who made it. Nobody told me who made it. I didn't ask.
Well, the staff would be the first to throw the principal under the bus if they didn't make the call.
And I know these people pretty well, so they would have said, boy, I think that was probably not the right thing to do. They all feel good. They also feel like the anger worked. And they're also very angry at Robert Hur for what it is that he did today. He's not qualified to make these kind of judgments, and he made these kind of statements in a document that he should not have made these statements in.
I don't want to, but he's not qualified. I mean, he's been hired.
He's a medical doctor. He's a lawyer who was supposed to be, and a prosecutor who was supposed to have said whether or not the president committed a crime. He said the president does not have a case.
Do you have to be a medical doctor to make a judgment that someone said to you in an under oath interview, I don't remember when I was vice president? I mean, do you have to have a medical degree to report that in a document?
I think we heard Anderson tonight have a conversation about like when did I start at CNN? This
he was vice
very
president of the United States of America.
Look, I wasn't going to say it, but the elections are every 4 years, so that makes it a little easier.
Yeah, but he can also be like,
all right, Joe,
I'll let Joe. 2009, 2012, what year was that?
I think we just need to acknowledge the obvious. Number one, those words in that document that's over 300 pages are damning. I think that if we are trying to tell people that we have to trust our institutions on a daily basis, if we're telling people that we are also supposed to take Joe Biden at his word, it is his own words that have been recorded by an official steward of the court in the process of trying to determine whether a crime was committed. And it is the opinion of the Department of Justice that is not in the interest of justice to explore bringing charges because they do not believe that the man who is currently president has the mental capacity to stand trial. That is effectively what has been imparted through the words of that document. So
that doesn't say that.
We should take the DOJ at their word, or perhaps something even more pernicious has happened, that the DOJ has undermined the actual confidence that the world has in the president of the United States. So this is really serious, and I think that we can't just poo-poo it as to when did Anderson start at CNN. It's much bigger than that. It's much more serious than that. No disrespect to Anderson, we all love him, but the point is,
Anderson's somewhere wondering why is he part of this conversation.
Catching strays. Anderson's just catching strays tonight.
Look, I think your point is valid. That we're having a conversation also about what was in that document, which has to do with Joe Biden. But I want to make this other point. The document also says that they did not believe that there was evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that Joe Biden committed a crime that is chargeable here. It did say that. So beyond a reasonable doubt is the standard in a criminal case.
True, but I will say that everyone knows that we give prosecutors discretion, and good prosecutors at every level do not bring charges when they don't believe they have a pathway to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt. And in this particular case, a significant contributing factor was his perception of the acuity of Joe Biden. So again, we should take no pleasure in this. We should not be sitting here trying to gloat. This is really much bigger than any type type of campaign ad that can be cut. The Department of Justice has said in an official document that has been stamped and dated and will stand the test of time that it is their opinion that Joe Biden is not fit. You cannot push that under the rug. That is a question that has to be answered and has to be addressed.
We also can't push under the rug that this is a Trump-nominated special prosecutor
so now,
hold on a second, who let the president off the hook and may have perhaps been just giving a little red meat to his Republican friends as he let
our
the president
institutions
off the hook.
have not been weaponized. Wednesdays, the institutions have been weaponized. It's hard to keep
principal question of the day is, did anything that happened today in this document or in this press conference help or hurt this number that 3/4 of the American people before today had moderate or significant concerns about the president's mental acuity and fitness for this office? I would submit that at the conclusion of this document and at the conclusion of this press conference, that number certainly didn't get any better. It probably got worse, and it firmly shifted the conversation even further towards his own vice president. Because I would say, and I don't know how many people on this panel believe it, there aren't too many Americans who are going to look at this and say, this guy is up to serving for 5 more years as president of the United States. I think Vice President Harris became squarely an issue in this election today. She already was getting there, and now it's even more important.
Everyone's the political values and the ability to serve as president of the United States and do it very well.
Everyone, stick around.
The scrutiny scrutiny on Trump is so much different than the scrutiny on
You don't think
Biden.
Donald Trump gets any scrutiny?
I don't think scrutiny. I don't think the gaffes he makes. I mean, he says the stupidest things on a daily basis. He confuses people. He's talking about whales. He's talking about windmills. He makes absolutely zero sense on a daily basis.
Your entire job during the day is to have a show in which Donald Trump's gaffes are endlessly mocked every day. You don't think he gets the same scrutiny as Joe Biden?
Number one talk show in America.
Everyone, we're going to leave it there for now. For now, there's so much more to talk about. Laura, I'm going to let cooler heads down.
So that was dumb. I didn't read the entire document, but a lot of the stuff was like when he was asked, it was like he didn't remember specific dates, which is a lot different than like, I have no idea what happened. It's more like, I don't like not remembering specific day. I don't remember. Like, do you remember what you had for lunch 3 days ago? Like, yeah, you're not going to remember specific things. Like, that's fine. And saying I don't know and I don't remember and I don't recall specifically is fine. It's actually a sign that someone is honest, right? They're not like making shit up or like accusing the person of asking an unfair question. So not remembering specific dates that things happen, I'm fine with it. It's fine. Here's Stephen Miller now next on how sharp the former presidents are. This is on More of the Water show.
Stephen Miller. Stephen, you were there in the White House when the press, everybody was salivating over the 25th Amendment. What are your thoughts on that now?
Well, of course, President Trump is the sharpest person to occupy the Oval Office in our lifetimes, and I can say that from intimate experience working.
Oh, I disagree. Just like straight up sharp, Barack Obama. No question. Easy answer.
The West Wing every single day of the presidency.
Yeah, that's the easy answer. It's you don't have to even like Barack Obama to know that was a smart cookie, right? Like he was able to recall things. And just pretty sharp guy. Up next, we got Dan Crenshaw. Pizzagate Dan Crenshaw versus Silver Fox Anderson Cooper on whether or not Dan Crenshaw is picking a fight with Donald Trump.
The elephant in the room is the former president who doesn't want, it seems, anything. I mean, he said it has to be a perfect deal. No deal that can actually get through a democracy, a Senate, can be a perfect deal. Isn't it clear that the former president does not want any deal, and Republicans are not going to make any deal if the former president doesn't want it?
Look, here's what I say to people who think that they need to let illegal immigrants in just to hurt Biden in the polls. My message to Trump is, I think you can beat Biden. I think I will help you beat Biden. That's my message. And look, Biden is unpopular in so many ways. People do not trust him on border security or the economy or various other issues. we need to actually solve the border crisis. It is also true that there are people on both sides, and mostly in the activist groups, and there have been forever, that never want this problem solved. All viewers need to know this, right? On the left and the right, they make money by this, by perpetuating this problem.
But you're talking about Donald Trump.
Actually,
I mean, I understand you're saying it's activist groups, but that is Donald Trump makes money.
I know you want me to say that.
Well, no, I don't want you. But I mean, you're a very honest guy and a very, that people on both sides of the aisle applaud you for that. He has put his thumb on the scale on this, and I understand the activist groups who have agendas and make money off this, but he's making money off this, and he's running an election. I mean, this is perhaps a winning issue for him, and he does not want improvement, despite all the talk of fentanyl, despite all the talk of national security issues. He doesn't want a deal.
I mean, look, you'd have to ask him. You'd have to pull a quote from him that I can respond to. I don't.
Right, but lots of people in the House have said that. There's a lot of Republicans in the House who supported H.R. 2 who are now saying, well, we don't need any border deal at all, and the only reason they're saying that is because
they're wrong. Look, and I disagree with them. I disagree with them in conversations today on the floor. I'm saying, and I said, look, if we didn't need new border laws, why would we pass H.R. 2? Trump needed new border laws when he was president. He needed laws changed. What he ended up doing, which was great, he made a deal with Mexico. He did the Remain in Mexico policy. He created the asylum cooperation agreements with Northern Triangle countries. That's what he ended up having to do. So look, I mean, I know you wanted me to kind of get into a fight with Trump. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to say what's true.
I'm not trying to get you into a
fight. What's true is we need a border deal.
Right.
I'm not trying to get you into a fight. No, I don't think he was trying to get him into a fight. That's correct. That's the whole rest of the stuff we've been talking about here, is that Donald Trump doesn't want it because he thinks it's going to be good election fodder, and it probably will be. But the Democrats have a no-win here because they don't have something where they can be like, well, this is crazy. We have something we think is a bit more reasonable that we can do here. They're not going to do that. Up next, talking about the impeachment of a Biden official. I forget who they're trying to impeach now. But the reason I pulled this mainly is because I don't know what the fuck is going on here, but here's Lou Dobbs. Lou Dobbs now works for Mike Lindell.
And quite frankly, his story is not really credible, but you have to have specific proof that he did lie. And I think he's couching. I think a lot of these people.
Honestly, Congressman, I have to say to you, it sounds to me like we're right where we were 6 months ago. It really does. I don't see any advancement in this and a progress toward incriminating evidence for the president. I mean, what we're talking about is a stasis. It's as if everything is frozen right there in time, waiting for either contradiction, invalidation of these statements by people that I think everyone would assume common sense tells you that they're lying through their teeth and trying to protect someone. But that's insufficient. I'd like to turn, if I may, to
even Lou Dobbs on the Lindell TV. He's like, you guys have been trying all kind of stuff for a long time. You haven't done anything. Why aren't you doing anything? What happened to Lou Dobbs? I mean, I don't like him, right? But he was like a mainstay of cable news, and now he's on fucking Mike Lindell's fucking network. What happened? Did he do something stupid, or does he think this is the right move? I mean, I don't know. I'm not all fucking let's feel sorry for Lou Dobbs. I'm just wondering how the fuck he ended up on the Mike Lindell channel. Anybody have any idea? Because I certainly don't know. But I'm here for it. Fuck it. We'll watch Lou Dobbs on the Mike Lindell channel going forward. We'll see how this goes. Up next, we got Trump attorney Alina Habba has some advice for E. Jean Carroll regarding potential appeal of the judgment against Donald Trump.
Let's bring in legal spokesperson for Donald J. Trump and general counsel for Save America, Alina Habba. Alina, when you see this $83.3 million judgment, and then the very next night, Carol's out there, she's on MSNBC with her lawyer, and like, oh, what do you want? You want a penthouse in France? What do you want? Rachel Maddow, they're yucking it up. It's really disgusting. I mean, the American people, even if you don't like Trump, you have to say, what the heck is going on here?
Right. I think they're seeing it. I hope they're seeing it.
You know, we have a judge that's trying to throw a civil attorney, threatening me that he was going to put me in the clink, I believe was what he said, because I objected to his ruling on an evidentiary issue. It was a PowerPoint slide that helped prove our case. And he said, no, you're not allowed to bring it in. I'm sorry. And I said, Your Honor, I have to put something on the record. I completely disagree with you. The evidence rules don't say it. And his response was, sit down, Ms. Haba, or I'm going to put you in jail.
Yes, that's how a courtroom works. It wasn't. She said it was an attorney. I think she just misspoke. But this is a judge or a magistrate of some kind. Yeah.
I mean, we are at as a country where we are so literally suffer from this Trump derangement syndrome. Really, that it was like being in an epic Twilight Zone, where no rules were allowed but for the other side. And then she goes out there and gloats and says she's going to buy France and a wardrobe and a motorcycle.
She's going to buy France.
I want everyone to remember, and I said this in my closing argument to the jury, she's here to get a check. And after this, she will continue. She didn't care, about the defamation. She cared about the publicity. And I argued that ad nauseum. Unfortunately, when you block a jury from seeing video footage, tweets that prove our case, when you block them from letting us have an expert, but they can have one, we were not allowed to have an expert. We tried twice. The judge wouldn't allow them in. It is so obvious. And unfortunately, that jury in that silo wouldn't know that because they're not allowed on the internet and they hear the rulings and they see a judge, putting an attorney down. Then that jury's going to believe whatever the judge is leading them to believe. And on appeal, those rulings will come up. The one-sidedness will come up and we will prevail.
So, Alina, a lot of these judgments, these monster judgments that come out, and for me, $83 million because Trump says she's a nut job. I mean, how many times have you said that person's a nut? It's insane, $83 million.
Well, no, he said she was lying about,
especially because
he said she was lying about a sexual assault.
New York, there's clearly a group of people who dislike Donald Trump. What are the odds of the 83 staying or being reduced?
My advice to her would be not to go ahead and purchase any motorcycles or penthouse apartments.
Did I get this right that she was initially awarded $5 million and they came back
for sexual assault? And then I want the world to remember something. We're in
two separate trials. One was for the sexual assault. She was awarded $5 million. Then after that, Trump went around fucking lying, essentially, saying that she called her a liar, and she won, I believe, it was a defamation case. I'm not sure if it was defamation, libel, or slander, but those are really hard cases to win in America, too.
Where George Floyd got 40-something million, people that have wrongful death get 10 million, but this jury awarded for defamation for a sitting president to deny an allegation, to say, I didn't do that, I don't remember meeting this woman, and this actually works against sexual assault victims who are real victims. That's what his statement said. As a sitting president, he had to address the press. Then the other statement was on the lawn going, answering reporters. Again, he says, I did not do this. $83 million. $83 million. People die and get less. Yeah. Die and get less. Yeah. It's Trump derangement syndrome and beyond.
Yeah, man. Get it out of New York if you can move that venue. If you get another trial,
you can't.
Get out of New York for sure.
You can't get it's in the state of New York. You can't. You can get a change of venue, but not to a whole ass other state when the charges were filed in the state of New York. Get it out of New York. Get the fuck out of here. That lady is such a bad attorney. And up next we got Nikki Haley talking about Trump's campaign and his legal fees on the Neil Cavuto show.
It just came out yesterday. Trump spent $50 million of his campaign dollars on legal fees on personal cases against him. Think about that. That's why he's not on TV in South Carolina. That's why he hasn't been here yet. That's why he's not doing rallies. It's because he's using all the money to pay for his legal fees for his own personal cases.
Well, he could also be looking at his poll numbers, Governor, and saying,
how do you defeat...
you're right. He could be saying that, I don't need to do that. I'm winning by a country mile.
No, what I'm saying is, how do you defeat Joe Biden if all of your money is going to legal fees? Tell me that. He, out of his own mouth, said, I'm going to spend more time in a courtroom than I'm going to spend campaigning. That's a problem.
All right.
That's a problem because our country can't wait.
Things could change.
things could change. See, like she needed to come out doing this from the jump, and she did not. It's too late, Nikki. You could have done this from the jump, and you could have probably had a chance, not a strong chance, but some chance. But you didn't do that. You were afraid to do this from the jump. Now that you're doing it, it seems kind of feckless. It seems useless. It seems like you're desperate, because she is. Up next, there's more. Here's some news on there was a robocall that went around. People tell basically it was edited audio of Joe Biden or deepfake audio of Joe Biden saying not to vote in the primary, and because you needed to save your vote for the general. Which, I mean, it doesn't matter so much in the primary for the presidential primary, but there's other stuff on the fucking ballot. And you could imagine that people would want to drive down Democratic turnout for other reasons. And that's why these robocalls went out. Well, here's Donny O'Sullivan trying to track down the people who did these robocalls. Here he is on Jake Tapper's show.
Donny, what'd you uncover?
Hey, Jake. Yeah, that's right. The New Hampshire Attorney General giving an update yesterday on this investigation into a robocall that had an AI-generated version of President Biden's voice telling Democrats not to vote in the New Hampshire primary. The AG saying that call might have gone up to 20,000 people in New Hampshire. Now, I say it was an update yesterday because certainly the investigation seems to be very much ongoing, but officials in New Hampshire pointing to two companies here in Texas for potentially having some involvement in how that call got made to so many people in New Hampshire, naming two companies, Lingo and the other Life Corporation. We've come to Texas to try and get some answers from these companies. Ironically, these companies that are involved in making millions, even billions of robocalls to Americans for years now are not picking up the phone to us. We went to Life Corporation's headquarters, or an address that's associated with their business today in Arlington, Texas. It's actually in a strip mall under name another entity called Text to Survey. No answers there, no answers from either of these companies, but both the FCC and attorneys generals across the United States coming down pretty hard on this. Now, look, these companies seem to have some involvement, certainly according to the New Hampshire Attorney General, in this robocall. But ultimately, what still remains a mystery is who created the fake and who paid for the fake. And 11 Labs is a service online freely, widely available for a small fee. You can make it sound like anybody has said anything using AI. Expert analysis has found that Biden fake was made using 11 Labs technology. 11 Labs telling us in a statement that they take this sort of thing very seriously, that they won't comment on specific cases, but our understanding is that it was indeed made using that technology. So somebody here knows who made for this, who paid for this, but unfortunately at the moment, Jake, we're not getting answers from the folks here in Texas, but we as well, investigators, both federal and state, keep looking into this.
Seems to me like the companies can either be part of the problem or part of the solution. That doesn't sound like they're trying to be part of the solution there. There's also this altered video of President Biden that Meta, which owns Facebook, says can stay online, even though they know it's been manipulated. Tell us about that.
Yeah, there's a video on Meta, on Facebook specifically, that essentially purports to show Biden behaving inappropriately toward a young woman, specifically actually his granddaughter. The video has been edited in such a way to make it look like he's behaving inappropriately. It's false, totally taken out of context, and didn't happen. But Meta's Facebook's rules on this, according to Facebook's own oversight board, which is this kind of body of experts that Facebook has set up to try and deal with some of its more difficult content moderation decisions, described Meta's policies on AI, on deepfakes, on all this sort of stuff as incoherent, and describing loopholes in those policies that are a danger to elections around the world this year. Now, over the past 24 hours or so, we have seen Meta come out and said they are going to start labeling some forms of AI content, but really only a very limited form of content that's made using certain software belonging to major companies. But Jake, look, you and I have spoken a lot about this in the past few months, past few years. Is that really what we're going into here between these robocalls that are apparently coming out of strip malls in Texas and going to New Hampshire to very misleading, I guess, types of content, video, audio that's being produced easily and shared online? It seems like many of the companies just do not know how to get their hands around this, from the social media companies to the producers of this.
I think you're being nice. I think they don't care because they're making a lot of money, and so they're
yeah, that's it. That's the one.
That's somebody else's problem. But then again,
yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Calls returned by them. Donny O'Sullivan, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Be sure to catch Donny on
Great, Comrade Jake Tapper, anti-capitalist. Up next, they tried to impeach a Biden administration, a member of the Biden administration, over something, and apparently one of the things that they thought was going to help them is that a Democrat who was going to vote no on it was going to be in surgery, and this person was not in surgery. So here's the Speaker of the House talking about that. It was pretty dumb, pretty dumb. Pretty incoherent. Like, what are you talking about? You didn't have the votes.
Impeachment. I mean, what happened yesterday with the vote on Secretary Mayorkas? Why bring that to the floor if you didn't have the votes? And will you hold another vote to impeach him?
Yeah, on impeachment, last night was a setback, but democracy is messy. We live in a time of divided government. We have a razor-thin margin here, and every vote counts. Sometimes when you're counting votes and people show up when they're not expected to be in the building, it changes the equation. But listen, we have a duty and a responsibility to take care of this issue. We have to hold the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security accountable. Mayorkas needs to be held accountable. The Biden administration needs to be held accountable. And we will pass those articles of impeachment. We'll do it on the next round.
So it's the Homeland Security Secretary. I also kind of don't like this idea that, like, that you can't, like, vote remotely for, like, from Congress if you're, like, in the hospital. Like, if you have surgery, you should be able to vote on things that come along, as long as you're, like, of sound mind or whatever, you know? This is dumb as fuck. Dumb as fuck. Here's Marjorie the Gathering also talking about them sneaky Dems with their fake surgeries. Gotta love Marjorie the Gathering.
Was the Democrats hid one of these votes that they had, so was it something that people would see? Is that something that Republicans?
I'm glad you asked that, because well, we can basically look at this as a game, unfortunately, and their strategy. And they hid one of their members, waiting to the last minute, watching to see our votes, trying to throw us off on the numbers that we had versus the numbers they had. So yeah, that was a strategy at play tonight.
So do you essentially?
I sneakily had people who are supposed to vote show up to vote. Sneaky. Hit him from Marjorie the Gathering. She's like, if I would have known, if I only would have known, this would have been fine. The person showed up to vote. Like, that's their job, you stupid fuck. Don't worry, though. Here's Laura Ingraham. She's like, this may look like we as Republicans suffered a setback, but don't worry. It's actually just more evidence that we stay winning.
So don't let the Democrat media machine, not for 1 second, have you believe that just because the House came up short in impeaching Mayorkas, that we're not on a winning roll here, because we are. The country is waking up. They're demanding real change, and they're looking away from Washington and toward the guy who had us going in the right direction just 4 years ago. And that's the Very Happy Angle. Joining me now.
We did a stupid. The Republicans did a stupid, but don't worry, it wasn't really a stupid. We're going to stay winning. You absolute fucking dumb fuck. Up next, this is Oklahoma State Senator Dusty Deevers. We caught a glimpse of him early on. noticed that he might be a bit of a problem. I think that might have been Kikyo in our community that was like, hey, check out this guy. Well, here he is on the Michael Knowles show talking about the dangers of adult films. Shout out to Right Wing Watch.
Every person looking at porn knows that it is condemning them. There's not a single person who looks at it and says, oh, this is a good thing for me. This is a good thing for the people that I'm watching here. What I'm seeing happen here, even if it's less violent, is a good thing. Nobody is saying that because they have a conscience. They're created by God, and their conscience is either approving them or accusing them before the holy character of God. So they already know, number one. Secondly, porn is defiling. And what we see in the bedroom spills out into the outdoors. What happens indoors is always going to go outdoors with porn. There's no closed door porn. What you're doing in your bedroom, what you're doing in private is affecting my children. It's affecting my friends. It's affecting everybody. So we get our rights from God. Government doesn't give us our rights. Our Constitution says this very thing. We get our rights from God, and it is absolutely degrading and defiling, and it's domineering. It is controlling, and it's not as though it's free from a controlling higher power. That higher power,
principalities and powers.
That's exactly right. It's principalities, powers, and rulers of the air, and they are setting up and waging war against humanity. And what is good, right, and true is from God who created us. And so it is a power, it's a spiritual warfare. And these people are getting, anyone who gets caught up into pornography is caught up not just in a power of flesh and blood, but a power that they aren't able to control, that's degrading them and seeking to eradicate their use, their value, and true society.
Like somebody in chat said, what's on this guy's hard drive? Like, look at porn if you want. Fuck. And if you have ethical problems with it, there's amateur porn. You're not always going to, some stuff is filmed to look like amateur porn. But if you have ethical problems with the porn industry, which you could, it is exploitative in ways that industries are exploitative. Fucking get amateur porn. Find some OnlyFans creators you like. Watch cams, live webcams of people that you believe to be regular people just trying to make some money on it. There's ways around this. If you have but that's not their problem. Their problem is the porn existing in the first place because they're, crazy. Crazy. And as Lady B in the chat just said, I'd rather watch pornography than watch that guy talk. Glad everybody stuck around even through that. We're going to skip a couple stories here because we are up against it time-wise. We're pushing pretty hard up against 2 hours, and I try to keep this show to an hour and a half. But we can't not do these next three. We got a popular British TV show talks about U.S. prisons. This is pretty amazing, actually, what they're going to say here, and I believe they're right.
Where are 1% of American adults?
Jail.
Yes.
3 million people are locked up.
Well, 2.3, which is 1 in every 99.1 adults. No society in history has imprisoned more of its citizens than the United States of America. So 5% of the world are American, 25% of all prisoners
Isn't the real
are American.
controversy with this the business end of it?
Well, that's true. It's also, as you say, right, it is a business.
And it's not just license plate, they make loads of stuff.
You're not allowed to bring into America anything that's been made by forced labor or prisons. But in America, you could almost say, if you were so minded, that they've reinvented the slave trade. They produce, for example, 100% of all military helmets, ammunition belts, bulletproof vests, ID tags and other items of uniform, 93% of domestically produced paints, 36% of home appliances, 21% of office furniture, which allows the United States to compete with factories in Mexico because, of course, obviously the workers can't refuse to work.
Yep. Like the Brits don't have that much room to talk about American history, but on the how many people we throw in prison thing, they do. They don't. Their prison. They don't have the carceral state in the way that we do. It's just not the same. It's not even close. good to see that. Good to see that. So, up next, got Eric Weinstein. Eric Weinstein on the Jesse Waters show. They are going to discuss VR.
Microsecond delay, because what it is a camera visualizing the screen, and you're not seeing the eyes of the person. You're seeing
I thought I saw a dinosaur, and that dinosaur came really close, and I tried to punch it, went right through the head. And I'm just saying, there's a lot of people that don't have, I don't know, the groundedness that I have, and actually might jump off of a window just because they're trying to run away from a fake dinosaur. And I just want to please.
Oh no. Oh, Jesse Waters sometimes is unironically very funny. He's like, oh shit, they're just going to jump out the window instead of trying to punch the dinosaur.
The audience,
no
please.
Psychedelics were available at Fox.
Well, you'd be surprised at what we have here. I just want to know, do you have pants on? Please tell me you have pants on.
Well, we can digitally render pants if that's important to your audience. But my point, Jesse, is
I want to see all of that. Actually, that is probably a really dumb fucking interview. Eric must need attention because he hasn't been interviewed by many people lately. So Eric must be in desperate need of attention because he went on the Waters show. Up next, we got Brett. Brett's got a new theory about China and Chinese genes sneakily generating an army. I don't know. Oh, this is on GB News. I don't know. The dude on the left in the fucking jean jacket is very deeply uncool. I've never even heard of this guy, but I can tell you the guy on the left is deeply uncool.
It's frightening to see a disproportionately young male population of what appear to be Chinese nationals moving towards the U.S. without our awareness.
Now, in a past life almost, well, you are an evolutionary biologist, which gives you that perspective on everything that you look at. You know,
even that guy was like, in a past life. Well, no, that was right. The past life.
About, China having experienced its one-child policy. There's an imbalance in the male-female demographic in that country. As a biologist, when you look at us as a species, do you get an insight about what might be happening?
Yes, and it's a disturbing one. There's a principle in biology and evolution that sex ratios tend to default to 1-to-1. And the reason for that is because although males and females are different in the way they reproduce, on average, they produce the same number of offspring. So when a population has a surplus of males, it makes sense to produce a female. And when it has a surplus of females, it makes sense to produce a male.
So the problem here, he's not going to tell you what the ratio is. At its peak, the ratio is 57% men in China. Now, my understanding is it's down to like 52, 53%. So it's not this like 2-to-1 or some shit like you would assume that it is based on like the way he's talking about this, or even 60-40.
The question is, why does that logic not apply in China? If you were a Chinese couple and you were going to have a child, if there was a surplus of males, it would make sense to have a female, because not only would she be certain to find a mate, but she would have her choice because she would be in high demand. So the fact that that logic did not obtain in China is curious, and it made me wonder if there is an evolutionary adaptation at a higher level in which populations sometimes produce a surplus of males in preparation for war.
What?
It is only a hypothesis, but in seeing a migration,
I mean, that calling it a hypothesis seems a bit generous.
Of military-age males flowing from China through the Darien Gap into Central America and up to the United States, I have to wonder if this might not be a...
So military age, by the way, doesn't really mean anything. It could be anything from like 16 to 45 or something.
Military force waiting for orders that is being deployed covertly in the midst of a migration that makes it hard for us to recognize it.
crazy town. It's a great replacement shit. He's like, oh, they're Chinese people are coming in and they're all military age. But the problem, okay, so one of the problems here, a lot of times they'll separate people when they show up. So if you see a line of just men from China, those are men from China. You don't know if there's another line of women from China that they're not showing. Those people maybe came with their partners and they got separated, and separating families. Also, the military age doesn't mean anything. This is just his interpretation based on what he's seen, that these people are military aged. I don't know what that means. People in their 60s aren't going to be doing that kind of traveling on foot unless there's a fucking really dire reason for doing so. So yeah, a lot of migrants tend to be younger because they can manage the travel on foot, and via other methods. Of course, people hop trains and find other ways to get where they're going. But yeah, it's going to be mostly younger people. That's just going to be the nature of what's going on. It's not some replacement. It's just the nature of trying to travel without any resources. It's easier when you're younger. I'm getting to the age where it would be very difficult for me to do it. But when I was 25, I probably could have pulled it off. Does that make me military age? Maybe. Brett Weinstein's an idiot, and we're watching him spiral now as his influence in the anti-vaccine movement starts to wane. I don't know if it's because he's not that interesting, or if it's just because the old school, like Del Bigtree and everybody, are kind of freezing him out. I don't know, but his influence in that is definitely starting to wane. And so we're going to watch him get crazier and crazier and crazier. Unfortunately, we've put him on what's called academic probation around here, which means we don't really run long form stuff from him unless something incredibly crazy comes up, or if we have Homozygote on the show. If Marcus comes on and wants to do long form Brett and Heather, Marcus is always welcome to come do an intellectual Dollar Tree to check in on that. Anyway, that's the podcast part of the show. Thanks everybody who's watching live, and thanks podcast listeners. If you're watching live, don't go anywhere. We're going to go into red light. And if you're listening to the podcast and you want the rest of the show, hit up patreon.com/echoplex, or even better, go to eplex.store. $5 or more a month gets you the entire audio video capture of this. The down ballot, that's Tuesdays, Wednesday for the intellectual Dollar Tree. I think that's our 3 podcasts now. Oh, we also have How the Tech Are You, but there's no post game for that. And there'll also be some bonus material coming from the Media Wench. We're probably going to put out a podcast feed for her stuff. And live viewers, don't forget to tune in. That would be tomorrow morning and Tuesday morning to check out the Media Wench's live stream about Shasta and other sort of more maybe horse race American national politics stuff. I am now going to change the color of the lights in this room and change the contents of my beverage, and we're going to go into red light. I've got some weird shit. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see everybody in just a moment. Or a little over 4 of them. Or is a moment a minute and a half? Anyway, whatever.